Welcome back, everybody. It's the lawyer you know to break down more of the Murdaugh murders, Murdaugh mysteries, whatever you want to call it. I have never seen a web of deceit and fraud and death like I have surrounding this high-profile attorney in South Carolina, Alex Murdaugh. So we're going to unpack the facts today of another portion of what's going on. But make sure you subscribe to our page if you like this kind of breakdown and you like to talk about the legal cases going on in the news and in the media, the high-profile trials like Elizabeth Holmes, R. Kelly, Ronnie O'Neal. Let us know if you like that by subscribing and commenting on our videos and commenting on our polls that we post in the community so we know what content you guys like the best. And if you like these videos on Murdaugh, we had a lot of requests for these. We did one kind of recap video focusing on his fake suicide attempt, which is why we're doing another video. Make sure you like this video and let me know in the comments if you want me to continue breaking down the Murdaugh murders, because today we're going to focus on another portion of it. Gloria Satterfield, the longtime housekeeper for the Murdaugh family, has just opened up a huge can of worms. So they just settled the case. So they filed this lawsuit a little while back, but now it's all becoming public. We know what the settlement was. We know what happened, and we actually have the complaint, the document as we do to go through together to see these shocking facts and shocking events of what a lawyer can do to you and how a lawyer can screw you and how you have to make sure that you pick an ethical lawyer with a great reputation, with people that have used him before, and not just do whatever a lawyer says without asking a question, right? You are supposed to be able to ask your lawyer questions, and your lawyer is supposed to keep you informed. A good lawyer can be more valuable than gold, but a bad lawyer can take you to the depths of hell, legally speaking, and that's what happened here. We already did a breakdown of Tom Girardi. We've done a couple videos on that to see how a PI lawyer can screw you over and commit fraud and take all your money for deserving victims of horrible things that have happened to them. Well, Alex Murdaugh takes that a step further, if you're going to believe what's in this complaint, and they just settled it, not admitting any wrongdoing, but the facts in this complaint are absolutely horrifying. As a personal injury and wrongful death lawyer, this is what I do. So to look at a complaint like this and see how a wrongful death lawyer working with Alex Murdaugh took advantage of this family is sickening. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, but for right now, we are going to look at this complaint and break down all the facts and talk about how something like this happens. All right, so we're going to kind of explain these documents in order, okay? So Exhibit A is a petition for approval of wrongful death settlement. What that is anytime there's a wrongful death settlement, or in most minor settlements, if you settle something for a minor child, you have to get court approval. And the reason for that is an extra layer of protection that the judge has to look at the settlement, make sure it's all copacetic and above board and everybody's being taken care of, and then the judge puts their stamp of approval on it. It is supposed to protect against situations exactly like this. So this petition for approval, Chad Westerhoff as personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield. Again, Gloria Satterfield is the housekeeper for the Murdaughs, longtime housekeeper for over 20 years, tripped and fell down the stairs at their house and died. They are suing Richard A. Murdaugh, which is Alex Murdaugh to all of you out there following this case. So the first couple paragraphs just say, we're here petitioning the court to approve this settlement. But let's look at the insurance paragraph. The defendant, Richard A. Murdaugh, was covered by certain underwriters at Lloyd's of London with coverage limits of $500,000. Under the coverage E, personal liability, as well as $5,000 under coverage F, medical payments to other. As a result of this incident, a wrongful death claim has been asserted. So the way that works is that's just the general liability insurance is $500,000. And then there's additional $5,000 med pay. Most insurance policies have this med pay. They kick that in to pay medical bills. But the big piece they were going after here was the $500,000 of liability insurance that Murdaugh had. Terms of the settlement. The defendant, the underwriters, agree to pay $500,000 for liability plus $5,000 for medical payments. Okay? The partial settlement proceeds are to be apportioned: $475,000 for the wrongful death, $25,000 for the survival action, and $5,000 for med pay. This is the initial settlement. Okay, there's going to be a lot more. This is just the first piece. The beneficiaries are Brian Harriet and Michael Anthony Satterfield. Those are Gloria Satterfield's sons, who are obviously the beneficiaries of her estate. If there was a settlement, they are the ones that would eventually get the money after it passes through the estate. Attorney's fees and costs. Nothing unusual here. $166,000, the amount to be paid for Fleming, who is the lawyer on this case. The proposed settlement and then they just go through the fact that it is reasonable. The judge should sign off on it. Here you go, judge. Here's everything. We're laying our cards out on the table. And the judge signs it, and that settlement is done, right? $505,000. It gets done. Great. Sounds great. Doesn't make sense. Seems like Murdaugh would have a lot more money than that, but at least they got something for the wrongful death of their mother. But wait, there's more, and a lot more. Now, they file another petition with the court. This is a priority matter with oral argument and testimony under oath requested, right? This is a motion for civil detention. Tony Satterfield and Brian Harriet, by and through their undersigned counsel, hereby move before the Honorable Carmen Mullen and or such other judge as may be assigned to hear this matter for an order requiring the arrest and detention of defendant Alex Murdaugh in accordance with South Carolina Code Section 151720 until such time as the defendant returns to the petitioners the property that he has fraudulently embezzled from them. This is a priority matter and oral argument and testimony under oath is required. This motion is based upon the following grounds as well as upon such additional testimony, evidence, and or argument as may be offered at the time of this hearing. Now we're going to get into the facts behind this shady settlement and everything that happened from the moment Gloria Satterfield passed. Gloria Satterfield died on February 26, 2018, following a fall in the home of Alex Murdaugh. Just in case anyone's not following how there's a wrongful death incident on a trip and fall case, if somebody trips and falls at your house and they can prove that there was a dangerous condition or something that wasn't reasonably maintained, or you did something negligent that caused these injuries and the eventual death of the person that tripped and fell at your house, there could be a wrongful death claim filed against you for a death that occurred on your property, even if you didn't purposefully do anything to hurt that person. So that's kind of where we are. But let's find out how it actually happened. Because how would a housekeeper of 20 years, do you think she would really sue somebody? They felt like they were an extension of their family. Why would she sue Murdaugh? He probably helped her out throughout her entire life. He's this big shot lawyer. He employed her for 20 years. I'm sure he would have helped her out. So why did they sue him? Don't worry, we're going to find out. After Gloria's funeral, Murdaugh told the Satterfield family, and specifically Gloria's sons, Tony and Brian, that Gloria's fall was his fault and that he would take Gloria's sons to an attorney for the purpose of making a legal claim against Murdaugh. So no, they didn't just sue Murdaugh. They didn't come after him. He suggested that they file a lawsuit against him. Does that make any sense to you? Why would he do that? Who wants to be sued? Why would you want to be sued? Well, we know from a previous video that Murdaugh is not above creating a fraudulent claim for insurance, as he tried to create a fake suicide attempt by murder of his drug dealer in order to get his life insurance payments to go to his son. That's insurance fraud. Well, if he's not above it then, he's definitely not above it here to say, why don't you guys file a claim against my insurance company? I know I'm well covered and you guys can get a bunch of money. But what's in it for him? Let's find out. Paragraph 3. Gloria Satterfield had worked for the Murdaugh family for over 20 years. Gloria Satterfield and her family viewed themselves as an extension of the Murdaugh family. Tony and Brian trusted Murdaugh and had no reason not to trust him. Paragraph 6. Here's where it starts to just extra layers of shady. Murdaugh introduced Tony and Brian to attorney Corey Fleming, whose job it would be to bring a claim against Murdaugh. First off, as a lawyer, you're not allowed to refer a client to file a lawsuit against yourself. There would be all sorts of conflicts there. You're not allowed to take any referral fees from that, and you're definitely not allowed to use a lawyer that you've worked with and are friends with to sue you. That lawyer would be conflicted out. Now, you can waive conflicts and do all this stuff if it's all above board, which it may have been, but this is absolutely frowned upon by every bar association nationwide. Now, like I said, if it was all above board, but if you look in paragraph 7, Murdaugh did not tell Tony and Brian that Fleming, their new lawyer, was Murdaugh's former college roommate, had previously worked with Fleming when he was a young attorney, and or that he was the godfather of Murdaugh's son, Paul. To recap, this unbiased lawyer that's going to sue me is my college roommate and best friend, my godfather to my kid, and my former employee, and a lawyer that had worked for me or worked with me and I've helped him in his career. Does that sound like an unbiased person without a conflict that should be suing me that'll have the best interest of the client? in his mind? Does that sound right to you? There's a reason there are these bar rules to protect clients. This is one of them. Paragraph 8. Fleming was thereafter engaged for the purpose of representing the estate of Gloria Satterfield and making civil claims against Murdaugh. Tony and Brian were the sole heirs of Gloria Satterfield and were to be the sole beneficiaries of any proceeds of her estate. Tony was originally appointed to be the personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield, as was his statutory right. Brian had equal right to serve as personal representative, but renounced his right to serve in favor of his brother Tony. By law, only the personal representative of the estate in South Carolina has standing to pursue a wrongful death and or survivor claims. So the way that works is if somebody dies, you would think, well, they can't have any claims, right? Everything should just go away because the money's not going to help them because they've already passed. In wrongful death claims, you get a personal representative that is set to make the decisions for the estate. Usually it's a family member. If you have a child, usually one of the children or a spouse is the personal representative, and they make decisions that's best for the family, your heirs, because what happened to you can absolutely affect your family. If you're the breadwinner of the family, if you provide love and support for the family, if you babysit for the family's kids, whatever it may be, you have value to your family and those you leave behind. And that's why an estate is created, and the damages that are paid and all of the proceeds that go to that estate eventually go to your heirs, eventually go to those people that would be in your will. For instance, if you have a will and you're going to leave money to somebody, if your estate has a lawsuit and they get a settlement, that's where the money goes. You have to create it. It's all got to be on the record. It's all got to be public record, and the court has to know what's going on in order to protect all the potential beneficiaries of your estate. And that's what's happening here. In the fall of 2018, Fleming advised Tony and Brian that they would be better served if Tony ceased his role as personal representative of the mother's estate, and the role was entrusted to the vice president of Palmetto State Bank, Chad Westerford, as there would be business issues arising that were beyond Tony's experience. We've had a lot of wrongful death claims, multi-million-dollar wrongful death claims. Not yet has it become necessary to take a child, a beneficiary, one of the sole beneficiaries who's intimately involved, and this is going to directly affect their life, to take them out unless they were not mentally capable of handling those decisions. If they were incapacitated, if they weren't able to handle those decisions, which it sounds like that's what they tried to sell to Tony to get a professional personal representative of the estate. I do not agree with this at all, and it should be a last resort, not a first resort, to pull the child out of his mother's estate of being her personal representative. At the time, Tony was not told of any meaningful developments in connection with the claim, nor was Tony told of any settlement discussions, let alone a settlement being reached. Tony and Brian trusted Westendorf and Palmetto State Bank. On December 18, 2018, Westendorf was appointed by the Hampton County Probate Court as the personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield, and Tony was replaced. So again, this is something that has to be done in front of the court. They had to show a judge why this was necessary. The sons had to agree, which they're just blindly trusting at this point. You just have to, and that works if your lawyer's an honorable person, that can work. But if your lawyer's a fraud and a scumbag, it can come back to bite you. This is why being a lawyer is such a big deal and so important, because people put so much faith and trust. I can't tell you how many clients say, whatever you say, whatever you think, whatever we should do, we're leaving it in your hands. And shady lawyers can absolutely take advantage of that and absolutely ruin a case and ruin things that can affect you for generations. One day later, on December 19, 2018, Fleming filed a petition to approve settlement in a matter captioned as Chad Westendorf as personal representative of the estate of Gloria Satterfield, plaintiff, v. Richard A. Murdaugh, defendant, action number blah, blah, blah. In the filed petition, Fleming and Westendorf sought court permission to access partial settlement of the claims against Murdaugh in the sum of $505,000, while reserving a right to pursue additional insurance coverage that is applicable to this matter. And this is important for a few reasons. They get this new professional PR in, and what do? They file a motion with the court to say that's just partial settlement. We reserve the right as personal representative and the estate and the lawyer for the estate to go after more insurance just in case we find any. Do you think Alex Murdaugh knew if he had any more insurance? Do you think his buddy Corey Fleming knew if they had any additional insurance? Maybe an umbrella policy that wealthy lawyers have? Do you think they knew about that? Well, did they tell Gloria's sons? Let's find out. Given that Westendorf was appointed on December 18th, and the petition was filed 1 day later on December 19th, it's reasonable to deduce that the partial settlement was achieved prior to Westendorf's appointment, and that the filed petition wasn't until after his appointment. So they did this partial settlement, they put Westendorf in, then they want to go for more. Neither Tony nor Brian were told anything about the partial settlement. Rather than ask the court to hear the filed petition, Fleming did in fact continue to pursue additional insurance policies, and through mediation in March of 2019, which was just 3 months later, was able to secure an additional settlement in the amount of $3.8 million. As neither Tony nor Brian served as the PR of his mother's estate, they did not participate in the mediation and were not informed of the final settlement. All wrongful death claims in South Carolina are contingent on court approval. No wrongful death settlement in South Carolina may be achieved without court approval, so they reiterated that. As a result, parties to a wrongful death settlement agree conditionally to the terms of settlement and thereafter petition the court for permission to allow the PR to accept the settlement. We've already talked about this at the top of the video. In connection with the mediated settlement of the case, Westendorf conditionally signed a release on April 11, 2019, wherein it was agreed that the settlement payments would be paid directly to Westendorf, not to the sons. Upon information and belief, Fleming then prepared a new petition, which he did not file under the caption, "In re Gloria Satterfield." Further, the new petition did not have a case number assigned to it. Neither Tony nor Brian were told anything about the settlements or the unfiled petition. While court orders are required to settle wrongful death claims in South Carolina, it is not unusual that the attorneys involved in such cases call the clerks of the resident judges to coordinate convenient times to hear such matters. Likewise, it is not uncommon that judges entertain such requests either on formal record, in chambers, or even remotely as an accommodation to the attorneys and to the families of those who have the lost loved one. This is not out of the ordinary. To file a court approval, try to get on the phone or Zoom or chambers or some point, talk to the judge, get this done so the family can put it behind them. None of that's unusual. These matters are routinely handled as a matter of mutual trust and respect between the bench and the members of the bar. So this lawyer does a really good job of saying, we don't think the judge did anything wrong. These longtime lawyers that have good reputations filed this paperwork with the judge trusted them and signed off. So we don't think the judge had any wrongdoing here. By whatever means the hearing is conducted, however, it is required that the matter be made a part of the public record through the filing of a petition and the entry of an order granting the petition. Upon information and belief, Fleming's office contacted Judge Mullen's office to report that a death settlement had been achieved and to request an in-chambers hearing to approve the settlement. Upon information and belief, Judge Mullen knew Fleming, knew Murdaugh, knew their law firms, knew the defense attorneys who represented Murdaugh for his primary and excess insurance policies, and knew they all enjoyed reputations, at least at the time, as excellent and ethical lawyers. Couple things to point out. Excess insurance policies that Murdaugh knew about the whole time and the lawyers knew about the whole time, but the sons didn't. The judge thinks they're all good lawyers. At that point, he or she has no reason to believe otherwise. And so the judge trusted the lawyers and had no reason not to trust them. And an in-chambers settlement hearing was had on May 13, 2019. Yet Tony was not present, told, or invited. Brian was not present, told, or invited. And Judge Mullen was presented with the unfiled petition for her consideration. And upon information and belief, she was not told the material facts about the proposed settlement. And she was misled to believe that the beneficiaries were fully informed. In addition, we're going to look at this settlement statement as well. There was a settlement statement with a distribution sheet indicating the exact sums recovered and the sources of recovery. More importantly, the settlement statement indicated exactly how the proceeds were to be distributed, including distribution of $2.765 million to the beneficiaries, who, as we know, are Gloria Satterfield's sons. Judge Mullen approves this settlement. Paragraph 47, upon information believed, Judge Mullen was misled by, let's talk about this now. The lawyers failed to advise Judge Mullen of the pending filed petition for $505,000. They represented to Judge Mullen that the beneficiaries of the estate were fully informed. They represented to Judge Mullen that after the in-chambers hearing, the attorneys would ensure that the unfiled petition would be filed on record. They represented that the settlement funds would be paid directly to Westendorf as the PR and thereafter to the beneficiaries, which is how it has to go. The order approving payment of the amount set forth in the unfiled petition allocated $50,000 to the survival claim with the remaining amount to the wrongful death settlement amount. And again, we'll get to that settlement statement. The order did not approve any other payments. The judge was limited by what's in the order, but let's get to paragraph 53. The beneficiaries were not paid the sum of $2.765 million. They weren't paid a dime. So where'd the money go? In the beginning, we asked, what's Murdaugh get out of this? Why would he want somebody to sue him? That makes no sense. Upon information and belief, Murdaugh set up a bank account using the name Forge. How ironic. But the reason he picked the name Forge is to create an illusion that it was actually the structured settlement firm known as Forge Consulting, LLC, out of Atlanta. We've had cases where people have created bank accounts or things called BOA. So you think it's Bank of America, but it's really just a bank account and they're funneling money there. So that if your bookkeeper or if your client looks at it and it looks like they're sending it to a legitimate bank account, it's actually not. That's what happened here. We also saw in the Tom Girardi case how he would take this structured settlement money and say, I'll take care of it, I'll invest it, I'll guarantee you're going to make money and I'll distribute it to you, but I'll be in control. While Murdaugh put all this money in an account he created. Upon information and belief, this Forge account was owned and controlled exclusively by Murdaugh. Upon information and belief, Murdaugh instructed Fleming to issue the check for $2.765 million that would otherwise be paid to Tony and Brian as the beneficiaries of Gloria to Forge instead. So at their mother's funeral or shortly thereafter, he comes up to these sons and he says, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility. You should file a claim against my insurance. It won't hurt me personally. Insurance will take care of everything. I'm sure that's what he said. He takes him to this lawyer who's one of his best friends and he says, here, take care of these people. While on the back end telling the lawyer there's lots of money to go after. They get $500,000. Wow, that seems great. The family didn't even know there was going to be any money. But wait, there's more. Let's get $3.8 million. You take $1 million, Corey Fleming, attorney. We'll put this other $2.7 million into something that looks like a structured settlement company. Nobody will be any wiser about it. And everybody wins. The family gets a couple $100,000. I get a couple $1 million. You get $1 million. Using this opportunity to come up with a fake, I don't want to say it was a fake claim because there was a wrongful death. They obviously proved something for the insurance companies to pay. But how shady is this? Through this deception, Murdaugh was able to embezzle and or fraudulently misapply the funds that were intended to be paid to Tony and Brian. The plaintiff requests a public evidentiary hearing into these matters with all parties, including the defense attorneys in the underlying matter, to appear in court and to be placed under oath for examination. And that's what's so important. Nobody should get off scot-free here. What were the defense attorneys doing? Now, sometimes defense attorneys will say, listen, we were just trying to get out, pay, be done with this case, protect our client. We didn't ask a lot of questions. Maybe we should have, but it's not our responsibility to represent the plaintiff. It's the plaintiff's lawyers. Let's look at that settlement statement real quick. Yeah, page 32. This is the settlement statement. And we do one of these in every single case because it shows where every dollar goes. Now, ours is to the penny. This one seems a little rounded, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know how they got their costs to be exactly $105,000. But total settlement is $505,000 plus $3.8 million. Attorney's fees are $168,333 on the 505 and $1.266 million on the 3.8. So Murdaugh's buddy, who he sent the case to, made $1.4 million off of this case. And then another $105,000 are reimbursed in costs, which is fine. All totally normal. Total to beneficiaries, $2.765 million. All that looks fine. Frankly, that settlement statement looks fine if the beneficiaries got the $2.7 million. That sounds like a good case, good result. Beneficiaries are made whole. And again, that's going to affect them for generations. And if it was put into a structured settlement company, even better, because that's going to be invested wisely. Payments are going to be made to the family. And again, it can last for generations in something like this. But where it goes wrong is when you have a professional PR that allows the check to go to a fake funding company, to the attorney who was sued and who referred the case and has had his hands in this soup every which way. He's on every side of this transaction. Everybody needs to be put under the microscope. The plaintiff's lawyer, the personal representative, Murdaugh, Murdaugh's defense lawyers. Now, it doesn't seem like they're blaming the judge for any of this, but I'm sure some of you will want to see, how did the judge let this happen? Why didn't the judge ask more questions? If the judge is being lied to, there's not a lot they can do. Well, it just came out recently that the plaintiff's attorney, Murdaugh's buddy, was like, listen, we'll settle this case, take our $1.4 million, take the $105,000 for costs. We got bamboozled by Murdaugh too. He faked us out. We thought we were sending it to a structured settlement company for you. And here, go after Murdaugh for the rest, but let's just be done with this case. But I have questions. Because when we do a structured settlement, yes, we let the structured settlement company handle the funds, they handle the payouts, but the clients are in constant communication with us, asking us questions, asking why is it this way? Because we've been with them for years on this very intensive case, something that touches close to home, that's affected their life forever. It's a very intimate process to represent somebody in a wrongful death case. You get involved, you become close with them, you learn about their family and about their struggle and what they've gone through. So they trust you and they continue to ask you questions throughout the process. It's not like you write a check to a settlement company and never talk to them again. You set it up. You see how the payments are going to be made. Made it, at year 5, year 10, year 20, whatever it might be. You talk about all that before you cut the check to the settlement funding company. You don't just cut them a check and that's it, and you don't have to do anything else as the plaintiff's lawyer. We know this because we do this on lots of cases. So it's about impossible for me to believe that this plaintiff's lawyer didn't know what was going on. And the fact that they never told their clients about this potential conflict, that he's one of his best friends, college roommate, godfather to his kids, former co-worker. So, of course Fleming should give his money back that he got for fees. Of course he should give his money back that he got for costs. There was an additional payment, though, made by his malpractice insurance carrier. And it's an amount that's going to be determined by the policy limits. So we'll keep an eye. You guys may have already seen the amount that come out. But he didn't just give back his attorney's fees. He didn't just give back his costs. His malpractice insurance also paid these beneficiaries for what he did to them. It was absolutely legal malpractice. A lot of people know about medical malpractice. Legal malpractice is also a thing. And when you totally screw your clients and screw up a case by letting your friend steal money on a case that was referred to you that never should have been referred to you, and greed took over, you shouldn't just give back all the money you earned, because that's not your money anyways. You aren't rightfully entitled to that $1.4+ million that you got for working this case, for everybody that's in cahoots together. But you additionally screwed up $2.8 million that they should have gotten. They should have already had the benefit of that money for some time now. So there's additional damages that your legal malpractice carrier is paying. And that is now going to the estate of Gloria Satterfield. This case was a total cluster. So we've talked about the fake suicide attempt from Alex Murdaugh. Now we've talked about the shadiness surrounding the death of his housekeeper. There are other elements to the story that we've kind of mentioned. The murders, the unsolved murders of his wife and son, and the boating accident, the DUI manslaughter crash that his son was involved in, that also has all sorts of shady circumstances surrounding it. So let us know if you want us to continue this series of videos on the Murdaugh murders, Murdaugh mysteries, whatever you want to call them. Let us know in the comments and make sure you like this video. Subscribe to our page if you're into these legal breakdowns, because we like doing them and we want to answer your questions. So if you have any questions surrounding this document, surrounding this case, and what's going on in wrongful death claims with structured settlements, or how any of this stuff works, this is right in our area, right in our arena. This is what we focus on. This is our specialty. So put it in the comments and we'll get to all of the questions and answer them. And we'll do follow-up videos if you guys have interest. So keep us posted. But for now, that's all we've got. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.